Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, Logical NDE. In today's episode, we are going to discuss a woman of science who is given a glimpse of the afterlife through her near-death experience. Greetings to everyone who hears me. I'm a spine surgeon named Mary Neal, and I drowned while kayaking. I also had a near-death experience. We were paddling a part of a river in Chile, South America, in 1999 that is well known for its waterfalls, while my husband and I were kayaking there. Not Niagara Falls either. We were proficient enough to handle drops of 10 to 15 feet, which may still sound absurd to some people. But we had been kayaking for more than 20 years. Additionally, we were paddling with experts. And as we arrived at one of the waterfalls, the situation required me to change my course and cross the waterfall's main fall. And when I crossed the top, I could see the bottom and see a ton of issues and turbulence. My boat and I were wedged or lodged in the underwater features as we plummeted to the ground, and there were 8 to 10 feet of water surrounding the boat and me. Furthermore, there was no way out. I did all in my power to get myself and the boat free, but I soon understood that I was probably going to die. And as soon as I prayed for God's will to be carried out, Christ's arms encircled me. Whether I lived or died, I was held, given comfort, and told that everything would be all right. And I was given a brief life review, which was my first truly life-changing experience, because I had never given death much attention. I couldn't have imagined having a near-death experience if I had tried to. In this life review, we went through incidents in my life, and I learned that it had nothing to do with judgment. Before, I wouldn't have even known this. It was entirely related to God's irrational love. I was shocked to discover that I didn't experience dread or terror. I didn't have any air hunger. Then, as my spirit emerged from my body was freed from the kayak. I then stood up and left the water. My body was still visible. Still, I could see Earth. I could still hear my friends calling to me, but I was immediately greeted by a group of somethings. People, spirits, beings. I'm never quite sure what to call them. But I had no doubt that God had sent them. They belonged to God. They were there to welcome, congratulate, and show me their affection, and I had no plans to return. There was no excuse for me not to return. My hubby is fantastic. I adored my 4 young children, whom I have 4 of. I did a fantastic job. Despite having every reason to go back, I had no plans to do so, because I felt like I had already arrived where we all belonged. I was therefore really disappointed to find out that I had been expelled, as my kids would say. However, what really happened was that the person who was sort of in charge of our small group turned to me and said, "It's not your time." That I needed to return to my body and that I still had work to do on Earth. Since I didn't have to go back, I did inquire as to the reason. And they took advantage of that to start explaining to me some of the tasks I still had to complete on Earth. One of them was my oldest son's impending and sudden death. And I was really given expectations for how I would react to his passing, and how I would not only continue to reflect God's love at that time, but also use that as a means of educating people about the beauty that arises from both life and death. I also received the directive to tell others about my experiences. We were speaking in a very basic way. It's like a sudden burst of energy. Since English is my mother tongue, I suppose I could say that I comprehended it in that language. I also consider what I was told in English when I think about it. However, the communication was also considerably more straightforward at the same time. Because it was directional and we were moving along it, the path appeared to be solid as we ascended it. However, the edges simply vanished into thin air. Likewise, I would assert that there was nothing apart from ourselves and our intended destination below and above. We would like to take a moment so that you can show some support for our channel by liking, subscribing to it, and clicking the bell icon so that you may remain connected. And now let us continue with our story. How many times have you asked me what Jesus looked like? Did I see Jesus, and how did he appear? And I'll add that I can honestly state that Jesus saved me while I was in the sea, and in one of my future out-of-body encounters, I was unquestionably speaking with Christ. People have also questioned how you knew it. They may have stated that you only desired Jesus. I'll tell you that it was absolutely true. Nothing was something I anticipated or wanted. I actually had been a cultural Christian. I most certainly didn't deserve to have Christ hold me. Christ and I had a conversation, but I didn't deserve it. That's the beauty too. No one of us earns it, since none of us deserve it. The New Testament demonstrates this to us. That is grace. He didn't resemble the photographs I had seen of him as a child. People have also questioned how you knew it. They may have stated that you only desired Jesus. I'll tell you that it was absolutely true. Nothing was something I anticipated or wanted. I actually had been a cultural Christian. I most certainly didn't deserve to have Christ hold me. I didn't deserve to have a conversation with Christ. That's the beauty too. No one of us earns it, since none of us deserve it. The New Testament demonstrates this to us. That is grace. He didn't resemble the photographs I had seen of him as a child. And my depiction of Christ won't make sense in our language because, without a doubt, I would say that he radiated love and generosity that knew no bounds. And while I am aware that is not a physical description in our language, that is unquestionably how he seemed. When I was returned to my physical form and informed that my oldest kid would soon pass away, I undoubtedly questioned why. I was then quickly returned to my life review. The fact that beauty can be found in all things was once again brought to my attention. I was also reminded that God does have a plan for the world and for every one of us individually. One hope is that I had no question that God was with my kid when he died. He didn't feel any discomfort. I'm pretty darn sure of that. He didn't want to return either. I'm very sure about that. I'm confident that when my own time is over, I'll see him again. In addition, I firmly believe that my son, our family, as well as the entire world, benefited from the enormous beauty that existed in his existence, as well as the beauty that has resulted from his passing. Furthermore, there is no doubt that I discovered God is real and active in our world. If we search for God's miracles, they are all around us. Heaven is unquestionably real. And I've found that even if you ignore everything else and just accept that there is life beyond death, it will change everything. Everything about today is altered by it. I've found that you can live wholly in the present if you don't have to worry about tomorrow, and ideally, if you accept God's grace for yesterday. That doesn't imply that you don't make plans for tomorrow or that you rush things. However, what it really implies is that you may completely engage in every second of every day. I've been reflecting on my experiences for a while now, analysing them and talking about them with others as I've spoken and listened to their stories. And I've come to understand that there are several lessons that I can draw from my experiences, which is what inspired me to write my most recent book, 7 Lessons from Heaven, in which I share them. There are actually more than 7, but I was able to combine some of them and narrow it down. But in all honesty, some of the most crucial ones concern the reality that God is love. More than we could possibly imagine, God loves us. And in that love has amazing grace for us, knows each of us, and has a hopeful plan for each of us. It is more lovely than we could ever conceive. And that is where we end today's episode. I hope that you liked listening to this. Please share your thoughts in the comment section down below, and do subscribe to our channel to stay connected. Until next time, stay blessed.